All right, so in this video, we're going to be taking 52 and 4/10 times 36 hundredths. So I want to show you how to do that using the area model. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to expand each one of these numbers. Now, since I know I'm multiplying by a two-digit number here, 36 hundredths, I know that my rectangle is going to be a little taller, and I'm multiplying by three digits on the top, so it's going to be a little longer. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this out. So I know that I'm going to have my 36 hundredths here. So let's go ahead and break that apart into expanded notation, because I'll be writing each number in expanded form, then drawing the area model, multiplying, and then adding. Okay, so those are the steps that we're going to be using. So let's go ahead and expand out 36 hundredths. So I'm going to put my 3, which equals 3/10 here. Then I'm going to put my 6 hundredths. Now making sure that I keep each digit in the place value. So showing that 6 is a hundredth, 3 is a tenth. Then I'm going to break apart my 52 and 4/10 into expanded form. So I'm going to start with my 50 plus my 2, which is another whole number, plus 4/10. So notice I'll put my decimal there. Now it is optional for you to put the decimals or the zeros in front. I'll go ahead and do that in a different color, but that is actually optional, okay? A lot of times when I'm doing area model, I might not do that because there's not a lot of space. So let's go ahead and now we're going to take this number times 50 times 2 and times 4/10. So I'm going to start with 3/10 times 50. And I usually just take the two numbers, 3 and 5, and I multiply them by themselves, okay? So I take 3 times 5, which is 15. Now I know it's really a 50, not a 5, so it's going to be 10 times greater. Now I'm ready to put my decimal in. Since I have one decimal place in this problem, I am actually going to put my decimal here. All right, so then let's go to the next digit, which is 2. We're going to take 3/10 times 2. So we just take 3 times 2, which is 6. Now I still only have one decimal place, which is right here. So I do need to make sure that my answer has one decimal place also. Just like we did here, we had one decimal place here as well, okay? Now we're going to come over here. Again, we're going to use 3/10 times 4/10. Now I have two decimal places. I have one here and one here. So I'll start by taking 3 times 4, which is 12. And since I need two decimal places and I actually have two digits here, I can simply put my decimal place right there, okay? All right, now let's go to the second row. And on this row, we're going to multiply each one of these digits times 6 hundredths. So 6 hundredths times 50, 6 hundredths times 2, 6 hundredths times 4/10. So let's go ahead and write that out. 6/10 times 50. So again, I'm actually going to take the 6 times the 5, and we're going to say that that is 30. But it's actually 50, so I know it's 10 times greater, so I'm going to add another 0 because I'm actually multiplying by 50, so it's 10 times greater. And I do have two decimal places here, so that means my decimal place, I'm going to go 1, 2, and my decimal place is going to go right there. You always start moving the decimal from the right to the left, okay? So my decimal is going to be right there, making that 3. Then I'm going to take 6 hundredths again. I'm going to multiply that times 2. So we would say 6 times 2 is 12. And I notice that I have two decimals still. So I still have two decimals in this problem as well. So again, I'm going to move over twice, and my decimal is going to be right there, making this 12 hundredths. Okay? Then I'm going to go to the last one, and it's going to be 6/10 again, or 6 hundredths times 4/10. So I'll simply take the 6 times the 4, which is 24. Then I'm going to count my decimal places. I've got 1, 2, 3 in all. Now if I add a 0 to the end, that would make it 240. I still want to make sure it reads 24. So in order to add a third decimal, I'm going to say 1, 2, and then I'm actually going to put the 0 in the front. Okay, so now it still reads 24, and it's 24 thousandths. All right, now let's add these all up. So we're going to now go back. We're going to add all these up, making sure we line up our decimals. All right, now just for room, I'm going to go ahead and add up the top row first, which you can do that, and then you can combine them at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and add up 15 plus 6/10, and I'm going to make sure I line up my decimals. So my 6 is going to go there, plus 12/100. All right, so I'm going to add those up first, okay? Now I kind of messed that up a little bit, so you could move that over, but instead I'm just going to add placeholders there to make sure I notice that my 2 is in the hundreds column, okay? So 2 plus 0 is going to be 2, 6 plus 1 is going to be 7, and then we have 15 plus nothing, so we're going to say that that is 15. So the top row equals 15 and 72 hundredths, so we'll say 15 and 72 hundredths is going to be the top row we have here. Now let's go to the next row. So we've got 3. I'm going to go ahead and add those decimals with the 2 zeros. We have 12 hundredths. I'm going to make sure my decimal is lining up right there. And we have 24 thousandths. So again, making sure my decimals are all lined up, my hundredths are together, and my thousandths. Okay? So I can go ahead and add in those extra zeros, which is always recommended, especially for subtraction. 4 plus 0 is going to be 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, 1 plus 0 is 1, and then 3 plus nothing is still going to be 3, and I'll bring down my decimal. Now I can combine these two terms. So 15 and 72 hundredths plus 3 and 142 thousandths. Now you can combine them all at one time if you like. I just separated them. So we're going to add 3 and 144 thousandths up here. Okay, now notice I do have a thousandths in the second row, but no thousandths in the top, so I'm going to put that 0 there. So we've got 4 plus 0 is 4, 2 plus 4 is 6, 1 plus 7 is 8, 5 plus 3 is 8, and 1 plus nothing is 1. So our final answer would be 18 and 864 thousandths. Okay, so that is actually how you use area model when you're multiplying using decimals.